Okay, picture this. It's 1993, and Lisa Kudrow has just landed her dream role. She's beaten out roughly 300 other actresses. She's in rehearsals. She's ready to become a TV star. And then, 3 days before shooting begins, she gets fired. That firing? It accidentally created Phoebe Buffay. Today, we're diving into 10 casting near misses that would have completely reshaped the television landscape of the 80s and 90s. And look, these aren't just fun Hollywood trivia. These are genuine inflection points where a single decision altered careers, redirected billions of dollars, and changed the shows we grew up loving into something we wouldn't even recognize. We're talking about actors who turned down roles that would have made them legends, last-minute recasts that saved characters from oblivion, network executives fighting creators over who should get the part, and every one of these stories is verified from first-person interviews, casting directors, or production memoirs. So if you're a fan of Friends, Seinfeld, Cheers, The X-Files, or pretty much any classic sitcom or drama from this era, you're about to see these shows in a completely different light. And hey, if you enjoy content like this, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe so you don't miss our deep dives into the shows that shaped a generation. Alright, let's count down from number 10. Number 10. The NFL star who almost became Sam Malone.
If you would keep an eye on her.
For you, Sumner, old man, I'll keep both my eyes on her.
Sumner.
We're starting our countdown with a casting decision that literally rewrote a character's entire backstory. When Glenn and Les Charles created Cheers, they envisioned Sam Malone as a former football player for the New England Patriots, and the guy they had in mind was Fred Dryer. We're talking a 6'6" former NFL defensive end who'd played for the New York Giants and the LA Rams. Writer Ken Levine confirmed that Dryer was exactly who the creators pictured behind that bar. But then Ted Danson walked in. He auditioned opposite Shelley Long, and the chemistry was just undeniable. NBC president Warren Littlefield later admitted that if it had been up to the network executives, Dryer would have gotten the role. But the creative team saw something special in Danson's charm that Dryer's imposing athletic frame just couldn't match. Now here's what's wild. Danson decidedly did not have a football player's physique. So rather than try to make that work, the writers completely rewrote Sam's backstory. They changed him from an ex-football player to an ex-relief pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. The entire character was rebuilt around the actor they'd chosen. Cheers ran for 11 seasons and 275 episodes. Its 1993 finale was watched by approximately 80 million viewers. That's the second most watched series finale in television history. Danson won 2 Emmys and 2 Golden Globes for the role. He was nominated for an Emmy 11 consecutive times, and by the final seasons, he was earning $450,000 per episode. As for Fred Dryer, he actually appeared on Cheers 4 times as sportscaster Dave Richards, Sam's friend, and he landed his own NBC cop show called Hunter, which ran from 1984 to 1991. Not a bad consolation prize at all. Number 9. The comedians who turned down the Bundys.
Wasn't anything that anybody else with the heart of a lion wouldn't have done. I mean, you should have seen me, Peg. Yeah, I was a little nervous.
This one's fascinating. When creators Ron Levitt and Michael G. Moy first pitched Married with Children to Fox, they described the concept by telling executives to imagine if Roseanne Barr married Sam Kinison and they had kids. The character of Peggy Bundy was literally modeled on Barr's comedy persona. But here's the twist. The creators never actually wanted to work with stand-up comedians. Moy later explained that comedians come in with their characters already formed. I mean, what were they supposed to do? Tell Roseanne how to perform her domestic goddess routine? The production studio, however, didn't get that memo. They offered the roles anyway, without the creators' blessing, and Roseanne Barr turned down Peggy Bundy, calling the show really caustic and vicious. She went on to headline her own ABC sitcom Roseanne the following year, which became the #1 show in America. Sam Kinison also declined Al Bundy. though he did come back later to guest star as Al's guardian angel. And in true Kinnison fashion, he reportedly mooned the cast and crew on his first day and arranged for strippers to serve lunch to his co-stars. Classic Sam. The role of Al eventually went to Ed O'Neill after a Fox casting agent spotted him in a 1984 stage production of Mice and Men. And his audition? Legendary for its simplicity. He just slumped his shoulders and sighed as he walked through a front door. That was Al Bundy right there. Oh, and here's a fun detail. The show's working title was Not the Cosbys, a direct jab at the wholesome family sitcoms that dominated the era. Married with Children ran for 11 seasons and 258 episodes. And, in a delicious bit of irony, decades later, Katie Sagal, who became the iconic Peggy, was cast as Dan Connor's love interest on The Connors. That's the show that replaced Roseanne after Barr was fired. You can't make this stuff up. Number 8. The future music icon who walked away from The Cosby Show.
I know you've always wanted a string of pearls, and since I couldn't afford to get you that, I thought I'd get you one pearl and then...
In 1984, The Cosby Show added the character of Sandra Huxtable to represent the accomplishment of successfully raising a child to adulthood, and the casting came down to two actresses, 26-year-old Sabrina LaBeouf and 21-year-old Whitney Houston. Director Jay Sandrich described what happened in his Television Academy interview. They gathered all the kids from New York in LA. Everyone was signing contracts, and this girl he'd brought back from New York told him she couldn't sign. When he asked why, she said she wanted to be a singer. Sandrich asked if she had a record contract. She did not. She didn't have one yet. But her self-titled debut album came out in 1985 and sold 25 million copies worldwide. It launched one of the most successful music careers in history. But The Cosby Show had another major near miss that same year. The role of Rudy Huxtable was originally written as a boy, and the frontrunner was a young actor named Jaleel White. NBC president Brandon Tartikoff was in the audition room. White's agent told his family to prepare to relocate to New York. White later recalled at a reunion that they were planning. They were packing. And after about 6 hours of waiting, the casting team came out and pointed to several kids saying they'd take them. White wasn't one of them. He went home and, in his own words, cried his eyes out. What happened was a casting director had secretly brought in Kesha Knight Pulliam after auditions were open to girls. This went against Cosby's initial wishes. Pulliam got the role, and the rest is history. As for Jaleel White, he later found fame as Steve Urkel on Family Matters. He's since said he's grateful things worked out the way they did, joking that he thinks it put a little more money in his pocket. The Cosby Show became the #1 rated show for 5 consecutive seasons. Only the second show ever to accomplish that feat. It ran 8 seasons and 197 episodes. Number 7. The network executives who wanted someone bustier for Scully.
Agent Mulder. I'm Dana Scully. I've been assigned to work with you.
Oh, isn't it?
When creator Chris Carter cast the virtually unknown 24-year-old Gillian Anderson as FBI Special Agent Dana Scully in 1993, Fox network executives pushed back. Hard. Anderson herself has said that the network was looking for someone bustier, taller, and leggier than her. They couldn't fathom how she and David Duchovny could equal success. At the beginning, nobody trusted that she could do anything. And here's a detail Anderson revealed later. She'd actually lied about her age on the first audition, claiming to be 27 instead of 24. Carter fought the network relentlessly. He insisted Anderson had the kind of no-nonsense integrity that the role required. Fox executives asked him point blank where the sex appeal was. Carter held firm. The network reportedly favored Pamela Anderson, who was a major star on Baywatch at the time. Now, while Pamela Anderson has never publicly confirmed being approached, both Chris Carter and Gillian Anderson have referenced this in interviews. So what happened? Gillian Anderson won the 1997 Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama. She also won 2 consecutive SAG Awards and a Golden Globe. The X-Files earned 16 Emmy wins from 62 nominations across 11 seasons and 218 episodes. But perhaps the most meaningful legacy is what researchers call the Scully effect. A study by the Gina Davis Institute found that 63% of women familiar with the character said Scully increased their belief in the importance of STEM careers. All because Chris Carter refused to cast for cup size. Number 6. The Buffy role swap.
All right, I respect you too much to be dishonest. The hair's a little... Well, that really isn't the point here, is it?
The casting of Buffy the Vampire Slayer involved one of television's most elegant role swaps. So Sarah Michelle Gellar originally auditioned for the role of Cordelia Chase. That's the popular, superficial mean girl. But after watching her read, creator Joss Whedon asked her to come back and audition for the lead instead. Meanwhile, Charisma Carpenter, who had auditioned for Buffy, was cast as Cordelia. The two actresses essentially swapped roles, and both ended up perfect for the parts they landed. But before any of that happened, Katie Holmes was offered the title role and turned it down to finish high school. Natasha Lyonne was also strongly approached. She later told Entertainment Weekly that she had dinner with Joss Whedon and the WB was really eager to have her join the network. But she chose to pursue films exploring messier, unhappier stories of young women. Selma Blair auditioned too, and by her own admission on Instagram, she didn't even come close. There was another critical recast as well. An actress named Riff Reagan played Willow Rosenberg in the unaired pilot presentation. When the show got picked up, the role was recast. Melanie Lynskey was approached and went through a whole process. She was told they didn't like what she was wearing at one point. But ultimately, Allison Hannigan won the part. And here's a fun one. Ryan Reynolds was offered a role, widely reported as Xander Harris, but declined because he didn't want to play a guy in high school. Buffy ran for 7 seasons and 144 episodes. Holmes went on to star in Dawson's Creek. Reynolds became one of the biggest movie stars alive, and Lynskey earned critical acclaim decades later in Yellow Jackets. Everyone found their place eventually. Number 5. Every actor who said no to George Costanza.
Listen to the comeback. Oh, yeah? Well, the jerk store called. They're running out of you.
George Costanza, the neurotic, scheming heart of Seinfeld. This was the show's hardest role to cast. The character was based on co-creator Larry David himself, which meant he required a very specific energy that wasn't easy to find. Casting director Mark Hirschfeld said they saw every actor they could possibly see in Los Angeles before expanding the search to New York. And honestly, the list of people who passed on or lost this role reads like a comedy hall of fame. Danny DeVito was offered the role and declined. Jason Alexander later speculated that DeVito probably didn't want to do a sidekick role. His career was at its apex after Taxi and films like Twins. Jerry Seinfeld reportedly begged comedian Jake Johansson to take it. He opted not to. Paul Schaffer claims he got a phone message from Jerry offering him the role without an audition. But he never returned the call because he couldn't imagine what kind of show Jerry Seinfeld could possibly get. Chris Rock, Nathan Lane, David Alan Grier, Larry Miller, and Brad Hall all auditioned. David Alan Grier told Howard Stern he gladly left the room thinking the show would never go anywhere. Now, Jason Alexander's path to the role was beautifully improbable. On April 3rd, 1989, Hirschfeld sent him a partial script in New York. Alexander enjoyed the writing, but thought it read like a Woody Allen film. So he did a Woody Allen impression on his audition tape and bought a pair of glasses to better resemble the actor. He considered the whole thing a complete waste of time. But Seinfeld's reaction when he saw the tape, he said the second they saw Alexander, like 2 lines out of his mouth, they went, "That's the guy." Seinfeld ran 9 seasons, 180 episodes, and averaged 26.6 million viewers. Its finale drew 76.3 million. The show generated over $3 billion in syndication between 1998 and 2013, and Netflix later paid $500 million for streaming rights. Number 4. The character who was supposed to die in the ER pilot.
Is it worth another chance?
You thought what we had didn't work, remember?
Alright, this one's incredible. Nurse Carol Hathaway was supposed to die from a drug overdose in the ER pilot. Juliana Margulies was hired for 1 episode only, and 3 separate lucky breaks saved both the character and Margulies' career. First, Margulies almost walked out of the audition entirely. She arrived early, but casting was running 2 hours behind, with roughly 50 people waiting. She was leaving when the casting director called her name. She read for a recurring role and knew she'd failed. But the casting director stopped her and said she might be right for this head nurse who dies in the pilot. Could she come back and read for that? Margulies went back in with what she described as a lot of attitude, and she got the role. Second, director Rod Holcomb filmed Carol's death scene through George Clooney's eyes. Doug Ross was Carol's old flame. And when test audiences saw the death through Clooney's devastated reaction, the whole audience went no. That emotional response made producers reconsider killing the character. Third, and this is pure luck, actress Sherry Stringfield happened to place her clipboard in front of her mouth while delivering the line, "She's brain dead." Because the dialogue wasn't clearly visible on screen, editors were able to loop different dialogue saying, "She's gonna be okay." Carol Hathaway was resurrected through a literal editing trick. Margulies stayed for 6 seasons and won the 1995 Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress. ER ran an extraordinary 15 seasons and 331 episodes. The show's peak episode, Hell and High Water, drew 48 million viewers with a 45% market share. Number 3. The CBS sitcom that almost killed Rachel Green.
You're funny, Chandler. You're a funny guy. You know what else is really funny?
Something else I might have said?
The role of Rachel Green on Friends was, by co-creator Marta Kaufman's admission, the part that was hardest to cast. Jennifer Aniston was the producer's strong first choice. But there was a massive problem. She was contractually committed to a CBS show called Muddling Through. So NBC took an extraordinary gamble. They cast her in what's called second position, meaning she could only join Friends if her CBS show was canceled. NBC president Warren Littlefield had a personal stake in the outcome. He later recalled running into Aniston one night while gassing up his car on Sunset Boulevard. She asked him if it would ever happen for her. Littlefield desperately wanted it to. He said he didn't care what it would take. This was the role for her. Now, meanwhile, there's a fascinating detail about the other female leads. Courtney Cox was originally offered the role of Rachel, but asked to read for Monica instead. Cox has said she related more to Monica and felt they were very similar. Casting director Ellie Canner was blown away when Cox read for the character. Here's the thing. The role had actually been written with Janeane Garofalo's voice in mind. Darker, edgier, and snarkier. But Cox's warmth transformed Monica into something entirely different. Other contenders for Rachel included Tiffany Thiessen, who screen tested, but was considered just a little too young at 20 compared to the rest of the cast. Jane Krakowski has said she really wished she'd landed it. And Jamie Gertz was NBC's backup if Aniston fell through. But Muddling Through was ultimately canceled after airing just a handful of episodes. That freed Aniston to become one of the most famous actresses on Earth. The 6 Friends stars eventually negotiated collectively to earn $1 million per episode for seasons 9 and 10, and each receives approximately $20 million per year in syndication residuals to this day. Number 2, the Oscar nominee who swatted away Frasier Crane.
I think you'll find that once you've been a patient of mine, I'm always there when you... Oh, great.
Before Kelsey Grammer ever stepped onto the Cheers set, the role of Dr. Frasier Crane was written specifically for John Lithgow. This was 1984. Lithgow had just received back-to-back Oscar nominations for The World, according to Garp and Terms of Endearment. He was a serious film actor, and he considered episodic television beneath him. Lithgow later described the decision by saying his agent, and he agreed to not even think about episodic TV. He said he can't help but wonder about the road not traveled. In another interview, he was even more blunt. He said he barely even remembered the request. It was like swatting away a fly. Kelsey Grammer, meanwhile, believed he'd completely bombed his audition because nobody laughed during his reading with Ted Danson. But shortly after, producers sent him a bottle of champagne with a note that said, "Welcome to Cheers." Now, the stakes of Lithgow's decision are absolutely staggering when you run the numbers. Grammer played Frasier Crane for roughly 20 years. That's across Cheers, the Frasier spinoff, which ran 11 seasons and 264 episodes with 37 Emmy wins, and the 2023 Paramount Plus revival. In Frasier's final seasons, Grammer earned $1.6 million per episode. That made him the highest paid TV actor at the time. As for Lithgow, he eventually embraced television with Third Rock from the Sun. That ran from 1996 to 2001 and won him multiple Emmys. See, he even guest voiced on a 1995 episode of Frasier, bringing things full circle. Oh, and there was an unused NBC idea for a swap week, where Lithgow would play Frasier and Grammer would play Dick Solomon. It was proposed, but never actually happened. Would have been amazing to see, though. Number 1, the firing that created Phoebe Buffay.
Okay, now promise you won't freak out and say how great this is until I'm done, okay? Okay.
All right, and that brings us to number 1. This is arguably the most consequential casting swap in sitcom history. In 1993, roughly 300 actresses auditioned for the role of Roz Doyle on the new Cheers spin-off Frasier. It came down to Lisa Kudrow and Perry Gilpin, and Kudrow won the part. She was in rehearsals. She was learning her lines. She was ready to become a TV star. And then, approximately 3 days before shooting began, director James Burrows pulled her aside. "This isn't working," he told her. Burrows later explained the breaking point. There was a scene he called the Lupe Velez speech before Frasier confronts his father. He said Kelsey Grammer is such a strong personality, and what Lisa does great is ethereal. It just didn't work in that moment. Frasier needed a guide, not someone as crazy as he was. Grammer was diplomatic about it. He said they couldn't find how to help Lisa make the role work. Kudrow was devastated. She later recalled on the Smartless podcast that she wasn't right for the part, for the chemistry of the group. But she thought the director just didn't like her. To her credit, though, she graciously acknowledged they were correcting a mistake. Perry Gilpin should have always been Roz. So what happened next? The following year, Kudrow was cast as Phoebe Buffay on this little show called Friends. Casting director Ellie Canner called her a no-brainer from the very first casting session. Kudrow won the 1998 Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series. She eventually earned $1 million per episode. Friends ran 10 seasons, 236 episodes, averaged 23.6 million viewers, and its finale drew 52.5 million. Meanwhile, Perry Gilpin played Roz Doyle for all 264 episodes of Frasier, and she reprised the role in the 2023 Paramount Plus revival. Both actresses ended up exactly where they belonged. The firing that seemed like a career-ending disaster was actually the best thing that ever happened to Lisa Kudrow. Conclusion. And there you have it. 10 casting near misses that prove the shows we grew up loving were assembled through chaos, lucky breaks, and last-minute reversals. Not some clean creative vision. You know what strikes me most about these stories? It's how often the quote-unquote losers actually won bigger somewhere else. Kudrow's firing led to Phoebe. Jaleel White's devastating rejection led to Steve Urkel. Whitney Houston walking away led to one of the greatest music careers of all time. Katie Holmes turning down Buffy led to Dawson's Creek. These aren't just fun Hollywood trivia. They reveal something profound about how success actually works. Rejection is often just redirection. The right actor in the wrong role is just one audition away from finding the right role. And sometimes, getting fired is literally the best thing that can happen to you. So the next time you watch Friends and laugh at Phoebe singing Smelly Cat, or cringe at George Costanza's latest scheme on Seinfeld, or feel your heart break watching Carol and Doug on ER, remember that those moments almost didn't exist. A different decision here, a return phone call there, a network executive getting their way, and television history looks completely different. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more deep dives into the shows that shaped our childhoods coming your way. Until next time.